For the 6th year in a row, Motorola has built a Droid for Verizon Wireless, and this one's tougher than most. But do a huge battery and a shatterproof display justify the new Turbo's price tag? I'm Michael Fisher with Pocketnow, and let's find out in our video review of the Motorola Droid Turbo 2. The Turbo 2's design is best described as polarizing. Lots of commenters have called out its wide bezels, its chunky frame, its pockmarked faceplate. But we dig it, because the Turbo 2 owns its ugliness, rather than trying to be something it's not. All those casing penetrations stand for different features. The proximity sensors for moto display, the front-facing flash for the selfie camera, the twin front-firing speakers. And the biggest port of all accommodates a one-of-a-kind display, a 5.4-inch AMOLED that's really blue on the whites, and frankly not as bright as we'd like it to be in sunlight. But at Quad HD, it's pixel-packed. And yes, it's very nearly impossible to shatter. To test that claim, we dropped the Droid Turbo 2. A lot. Heights ranging from 4 to 9 feet, surfaces including hard wood and stone tile. Even with impact after impact, there wasn't a spider web in sight. This is thanks to the 5-layer construction of the Shatter Shield display, which uses flexible plastic OLED, a redundant touch sensor, and 2 lenses mounted to the phone's aluminum frame. There's not a bit of glass in the whole thing. That means there's nothing brittle to shatter, which is good, but it also means the screen materials are softer, which is bad. Even with the hard coat on the exterior lens, this is a surprisingly easy screen to scratch. Motorola says the outside lens is easily replaceable by users, thankfully, so the company will start offering lens replacements for sale at some point. The Turbo 2 is the first Droid to be featured on Moto Maker, so you can build one to your own custom style and finish it with soft-touch silicone, pebbled Horween leather, or a revised version of the original Turbo's ballistic nylon. The aluminum frame and dimpled camera bezel come in various shades with accent colors, custom engraving, and boot greetings all customizable. The leather version is a little more expensive, but it's worth it if you want a little more luxury in your hand feel. The Turbo 2's build of Android Lollipop is almost identical to the Moto X Pure editions, so we'll just touch on what sets this phone apart. That starts with Verizon's customizations, which are littered throughout the software. The signal strength indicator, the persistent Wi-Fi banner in the notification shade, the circular time weather calendar widget that evokes the Moto 360, and that honestly we actually kind of like. Then there's the bloatware. Verizon has packed in a ton of preloaded apps, 22 distinct titles to be exact, several of which lead to redundant paid services that Google already offers for free. All carriers do this to an extent, but when one of the nation's most expensive operators feels the need to nickel and dime its customers like this, it seems especially icky. Then there's the update situation. The Turbo 2 is already launching on an outdated Android version, and we're not holding our breath for Marshmallow anytime soon. Not after it took the first Turbo a half a year to get promoted to Lollipop. Once you get past this stuff, the Turbo 2's software is vintage Motorola. Just pull the phone from a pocket, and Moto Display will show you your waiting notifications. Raise it to your ear, and Moto Voice will automatically come on, so you can tell the phone to do anything from calling your brother to setting an alarm. Or if you don't have a hand-free, call out to it with your custom key phrase, "Guten Tag, Herr Turbo," and you can get it to do your bidding without laying a finger on it.
What's the forecast for Saturday?
If someone texts you while you're driving, the phone will dictate the message to you and let you reply by voice. And yes, the Turbo 2 also offers the chop-chop hand gesture for quick access to the flashlight and the wrist twist shortcut to fire up the camera. The same simple utility defines the camera software, which is again identical to that of the Moto X Pure edition. If you aim the camera at a barcode or a QR code, it'll provide a link to open the browser. Take a flurry of burst shots, and the phone will offer its suggestion for which one is the best. The camera hardware is identical to the Pure Editions too, a 21-megapixel Sony sensor, and performance is right in line with its cousin. There's no optical stabilization, so a steady hand is necessary when shooting, especially in low light, where an automatic night mode kicks in to brighten things up a bit. You'll still get better night captures on Google's new Nexuses, but the Turbo 2 does better than most Motorola phones in low light, and its HDR mode brings highlights to the shadows without washing everything out. Selfies, taken with the 5-megapixel front-facing camera, are also quite nice, and at night you've got a front-facing flash to help out as well. Video has its highs and lows. On the bright side, you've got excellent digital stabilization when shooting in 4K, and if you've got a microSD card, you don't need to worry about wasting space because of the phone's storage expansion. But the lack of higher frame rate options means fast pans are pretty blurry, and there's plenty of digital noise when shooting indoors, even in brightly lit areas. On the whole, the Droid Turbo 2 packs a serviceable set of cameras. It's not the best camera phone on Android, but it's better than Motorola has managed in the past. And for most folks, it'll be more than enough. While the Turbo 2 offers Motorola's typical water resistance, it packs no impact resistance rating of any kind, at least none that the company has mentioned. So in addition to scratching up the display, our repeated drops have damaged the phone's speakers, making them sound tinny and horrible. That's a shame, but keep in mind that the damage happened after repeated worst-case scenario drops. A lesser phone would probably have come away with broken speakers too, and a shattered display to boot. Generally speaking, the phone does well in day-to-day use. The SIM stayed firmly seated in its slot no matter how hard we dropped the phone. The Adreno 420 GPU kept up with us in Asphalt 8. The Snapdragon 810 didn't stutter when scrolling pages in Chrome. And the 3 gigs of fast RAM let us shuffle between open apps with aplomb. We were quite pleased with Verizon's network performance too. We spent much of our first day with the phone using it as a mobile hotspot from the heart of Manhattan to the middle of Amtrak's notoriously barren Northeast Corridor. And Big Red only stumbled in the deep boonies. With few exceptions, voice calls went through as they should, and reception was never an issue in Greater Boston. Verizon Wireless may be expensive, but you sure do get your money's worth. That kind of performance takes a ton of energy, so the Droid Turbo 2 comes with a boatload of battery power. In our case, it was enough to take us through 16 hours of moderate usage with 5 hours of screen-on time on one occasion. The heaviest of users will still need to top up throughout the day, of course, and the Droid Turbo 2 comes with a very fast 25-watt charger right in the box. If, like us, you find cables so 20th century, you'll be happy to know that the Turbo 2 has both Qi and PMA wireless charging built right in. The Droid Turbo 2 went on sale yesterday for $624 in its 32-gig configuration, or $720 for the 64-gig trim. The more expensive version comes with a bonus, too. If you get tired of your phone at any time within 2 years of purchase, Motorola will let you exchange it for an entirely new Droid Turbo 2 with a new design. That's pretty cool. Still, those are some mighty steep prices when you consider that the Moto X Pure Edition comes with almost as much power for about $200 less. So the Droid Turbo 2 isn't for unlocked phone shoppers or deal hunters. It's for a class of customer we'll call the Verizon Lifer. The loyal subscriber who knows that he or she is going to be with Big Red for the next 2 years at least and wants a high-end phone to last the duration. At 2-year installment pricing, the Droid Turbo 2 maxes out at $30 a month. Pricey, but doable for the kind of customer who can afford Verizon in the first place. In exchange, they get high-end specs, a clever feature set, one of the biggest batteries around, and a display that's basically impossible to shatter. It's still too expensive, if you ask us, but if you've got the money and you know you're going to be on Verizon for the foreseeable future, there are few phones that offer this level of power in more ways than one. Just be sure to factor in the cost of a replacement screen protector. You're probably going to need one. If you want more info on the Turbo 2, folks, you know where to go. Our full review is at Pocketnow.com, and it's linked in the description below. Hey, follow us on the feeds, too. I'm Captain Two Phones on Twitter, and Pocketnow is Pocketnow. Until next time, this has been Michael Fisher, urging you to keep your droid on a restraining bolt, and thanking you for watching. We'll see you next time.